All right, guys, lots of fun stuff to chat about today. Lots of fun stuff. It is another episode of The Hobby with Cage. We're here, I think it's episode 22. Whew. The numbers are getting up there, and it's good because, a lot of people start this stuff and they, for one reason or another, they don't continue. And I've done 22 episodes now, not a sponsor for any of them, but I think that's going to change pretty soon. We've had a couple of close calls. We've had a couple of good conversations with folks. And if you're listening to this and you have a hobby company or something like that, and you're looking to sponsor, the first question I ask is what can we give for the listeners? What can we give for the Luca Tiger NFT holders? What kind of stuff can we give out to some value for the folks who are actually listening to this? So feel free to DM me. um, and some folks listened to the last episode and posted their, that they were listening in their story, posted what they liked about it, had some good comments on YouTube. Thank you for that. It's nice to, that you guys are out there listening. And when you hear the episode and you actually, kind of respond, that makes me happy. Got a bunch of good feedback on the most recent episode. And it's good because I don't want to just come on here Monday, Wednesday, Friday out of like a sense of, hey, I have to talk about, something. So hit record and, here's Wednesday's episode, a whole bunch of nothing. Want to be able to come on here and actually have a conversation, have something to say. The production numbers seem to hit a bunch of people on Monday, which is good. A lot of fun stuff. And the weekly news, if you haven't seen that, was out Tuesday. So, this is my first episode since posting that. A lot of good feedback. I did not get a like from Seablez, which, that upsets me because I put him in there and gave him credit, called him a legend. I did, freeze a picture of him in not the best pose, and made a little bit of a joke. But, he has messaged me many, many times that he likes the news segment. He's probably just busy winning money on the Miami Heat. And his Bam Adebayo MVP. I mean, 50-1 to start the series. It's like 5-1 now. It wasn't exactly crazy to start, but it's significantly less crazy of a bet now. And it's funny seeing a lot of sports betting content out there, and it makes me wonder whether or not a lot of the people who were really big in the hobby, were doing it as a bet, a sports betting replacement. Especially at a time when COVID, when there weren't a lot of games being played, you know what I mean? And whether or not, kind of buying cards and trying to sell cards replace that. And then even when the sport picked up and grading wasn't happening, you were picking cards and, hoping to grab somebody who went on a hot streak, buying Dame before he went on his, crazy point streak run, or, buying a young player before they went off and had a 40 or 50-point game, or made a playoff run. I wonder if now, just because of general market conditions, with the market kind of, hitting a higher point and now dropping off, you're seeing with cards that, even people who are having good performances, the value of their cards don't reflect it. I was at a card show on Sunday, watching some kids, including, my son and his friend, trying to make trades. And one of the other kids with his Zion case was talking about how he was a huge Acuna fan and that he had a whole case full of Acuna cards, and that, he's probably going to look to move them, even though they're significantly less in price than they were last year. And, a little bit of surprise on that because, Acuna was hurt. Now he's come back and he's playing at an MVP level. Haven't checked his pace recently, but there was talk of like a 40-60 season with home runs and steals. Forget about 40-40. His steal numbers are pretty gaudy already. Don't know if his power numbers have tailed off, but I mean, he's having an incredible season. And it doesn't matter, right? His cards are not where they were because most people's cards aren't. But if you would have bet on Acuna's performance, maybe put an MVP bet on him, or maybe, bet his home run total for the first couple of months or his steals total, you probably would be doing, better than had you bought his cards. And it's an interesting thing, right? Because I do think there are a lot of people who came into the hobby, looking at cards as sort of like an investment alternative, a way to buy stock in a player. And it doesn't really correlate. Um, I think it did, for a minute there. I definitely, will be somebody who, I try to be honest with you guys and not be revisionist, but I remember thinking that Star Stock idea was a good one. The company itself wound up getting a little bit too big, taking in every single card that they could. That was probably a mistake. I'm sure that if they had a chance to do it over, they probably would do a lot of stuff differently. But the having cards in there and being able to buy and instantly transfer those cards on that exchange, for pennies, while games were being played. I remember buying, backup Jets running backs Sunday morning because they were going to get a start and trying to sell them Sunday afternoon, almost like a fantasy style of cards. Um, you don't really hear too many people doing that now. A lot of people who were talking about that kind of stuff just I don't think they're here anymore. So it's fun to see, that kind of transition of content creators going from cards into sports betting. Seeing a lot of that kind of creep in and the similarities that's there. I did an episode a while back about whether or not it would have been better to bet on Mahomes winning the MVP or Mahomes winning the Super Bowl um, over buying Mahomes cards. And yes, last year, obviously, betting on Mahomes would have been better than buying Mahomes cards. There may be years, however, where that's not the case. And you got to flip it over, right? I mean, bets are all or nothing things, right? If this year there may be somebody out there who comes in second in the MVP race, you lose that bet, you lose all of it. And their cards, while they may not go up in value, they're still going to retain some value if they come in second in the MVP race. That's the flip side to it, right? Um, if you're betting right now that the Miami Heat, win this series and they take it to game 7 with Jimmy Butler scoring 40 per, and they lose, you lose all of your money. But if you were to buy Jimmy Butler cards, well, they may fall, even though he has a 40-point game every game. It's probably not going to fall that much, and there's still some value to them. That's the difference, the all or nothing versus, buying something that has some value, even if they do lose. Um, but it's fun. I'm curious to see the next kind of phase of this. Whether some of the folks who came in for that quick rush, that quick flip, whether they just leave, whether they learn from that, whether there's a different way of doing it. I'll tell you, it doesn't look like a different way of doing it, right? I mean, half of me wants to think back to, let's think about like Mac Jones, right? He wasn't last year's quarterback, but it was the year before, and people were paying. I mean, I saw a picture of Mac Jones where the I forget the kid's name, but he sold the card for I think it was $100,000, the black 1 of 1, and it's pretty crazy, right? Because I remember at the time people were like, "Why is that kid selling that card? Why is he selling it for 100 grand? It's worth so much more." And then there was even talk about somebody might have bought it from him and then resold it. That card's worth significantly less than that now. And I'm not just picking on Mac Jones. I mean, anybody who was the chase, it's the same thing, right? And we're seeing bounties and craziness now. Um, so I'd like to say, okay, we've learned, right? People were paying, like go back 2019. I remember selling Fernando Tatis base tops rookie PSA 10s for $350 each. I think they're $28 now. Okay. Now, that's hype versus reality, right? And he's a fantastic player. He's going to have a fantastic career. But when it's new and it's hot, people go crazy for it. I'd like to think that over time people will learn their lesson. And now this is not me being, a curmudgeon old man saying only buy Mickey Mantle, and get off the lawn. That's that's not where I'm going on this, right? It's fun to prospect. It's fun to, be betting on someone and having the guy and being first on it, right? Everybody goes into Bowman talking about the quote, the next Mike Trout. The problem is Mike Trout came out in '09. There was probably 10% of the people buying cards that are buying cards now. So the cost of the boxes were less, the cost of the cards were less, the cost of the singles were less. Hell, they pulled Mike Trout back then. People were like, was this guy any good? I think there's a video of somebody pulling the orange refractor of him going, hey, who is this guy? Is he any good? And I remember opening those. I remember, pulling Strasburg. I remember pulling Bryce Harper. I remember, opening Bowman cards back then. And, it was a couple bucks a pack, nothing crazy. And the amount of money being spent for cards, to prospect, sure, people prospected back then. Here's the fun. Someone just paid, I think it was the bounty. So let's call, I think it was DNA Cardboard, $250,000 for a Drew Jones card, right? Now, this kid may be amazing, maybe incredible, right? Maybe awesome. And I'm seeing, oh, this guy just pulled the Drew Jones out of 5. It's worth 10 grand. It's worth 20 grand. It's worth 50 grand. It's worth this. Here's a gold one. Here's a that. Drew Jones is coming off of shoulder surgery. And so far in 2023, I'm pretty sure he's hitting 175 in the minors. I can look it up. I could try to do it pretty slick and have that no, that doesn't mean anything. People struggle. He's very young. I don't think anybody's buying his cards now because of what he's doing this year. Everybody's expecting him to evolve into, a great player. I think he's only 19 years old. So I'm sure he's going to be fine. But even if he is, I really don't think it matters, right? I think history tells you that even if this is somebody who turns into something, I don't think his cards are going to be, worth what they are today. So what does that tell you, right? Think about it. When we combine the people came in and are now towards sports betting, right? People came in and are now they were looking for something that they could invest in. Yep, his average is 175. Yep, I was right. So 10 games. In those 10 games, he has 14 strikeouts and 7 hits. 14 strikeouts, 7 hits, batting 175 with a 283 on base percentage. Obviously, it's a very small sample size, it's 10 games, but still, that's $250,000 spent on that guy's cards. Anyway, I'm just wondering whether or not bounties and ripping and sports betting, whether or not we're not still in the same situation of the people who are buying these things are buying them for a jackpot, right? It's somebody who plays a slot machine is not playing a slot machine because they want to walk home with the cherries or the gold bars or the bells or the sevens or whatever it is. It's the jackpot today. It's crazy fancier machines now. No, they want to hit the jackpot so that they could collect the money. And you saw it. I mean, somebody hit the Drew Jones card. There was a jackpot type of atmosphere on it, a bounty placed for it. And the person who got the card took the money. I think smartly, because I don't think that card is going to ever sell for that kind of money. As a matter of fact, I think you already know, it wasn't selling for more than that because everybody knew that was a baseline. And if somebody wanted to beat it, they would have, and these people would have taken that. It's almost gimmicky, which is fine. It is what it is. I'm sure it sells a lot more products, but I wonder whether or not that's just the new normal. That every time a product comes out, it's going to be, all right, we have a bounty on this one. I saw it with, one of the TCGs. I think there's $1 million bounty now on some kind of ring card. It's happened before. I mean, there was a Zion bounty and that kind of stuff. I don't remember it really, these bounties being placed on cards more than a couple years ago, but I could be wrong. I mean, in the comments, if you remember a bounty on a card, it seems almost silly to say it. Please let me know about it and let me know what you think about them. I mean, I guess I could take it or leave it. It doesn't really matter to me, but I think what you wind up having is you wind up having more people chasing these jackpots, more people buying in to try to chase a jackpot, which causes two things. Number one, the price of the boxes to go up. And number two, less people buying to actually hold the cards and instead just gambling, instead just opening to hope to hit this card with an immediate value to it. Like, oh, this person just pulled this card. It's worth $5,000. This person just pulled that card. It's worth $25,000. It makes it more like we're all playing with a slot machine, right? Instead of, you're opening cards to collect those cards. And remember, at the end of the day, what's going to make the card have a value long term is that somebody wants to own it. At some point, someone's going to want to pay something to own the card. I don't know whether or not DA Card World, Dave and Adams, I don't know whether they actually want to own that card or whether they put a bounty on it to get people to buy the boxes. Anyway, enough fun on that one. I don't want to talk too much about it. And we have some other, fun news to chat about. I try to keep this one short, try to keep it to 25 minutes like I usually do. It's Ian's birthday today. So got a lot of nice birthday wishes. The flip side, Ian and I opened up some Series 2. We were hoping for Anthony Volpe. We got some base cards of Anthony Volpe. No gold, no nothing. No complaints, no little Timmy, so sports card nonsense, don't go crazy on me. But what's up, buddy? Yeah, come close to the microphone. What'd you think of the top Series 2? It was interesting, right? When we got the
There's a lot of cards.
There's a lot of cards. And when you open the regular hobby box and you got a Pedro Martinez relic, what'd you think?
That we should give it to our friend.
Give it to your friend who's a Red Sox fan for his birthday. That's good. But that being your only hit, did you care? Were you like, all right, on to the next box? What are you doing?
No.
Okay, you're being silly now. Happy birthday, pal. He's wearing a Pele jersey, by the way. It's pretty awesome. And that'll lead us to our next stuff. He's 10, so we got a Pele jersey. He's got a Neymar jersey. He's covering my face with it. What'd you wear yesterday? Messi, 10. What'd you wear the day before that? Pedri, 10. All right, so you're noticing a theme here, and it's soccer. Anyway, so our rip was, it was fine. Listen, we're not buying these cards to, to make a killing on. I think we bought 2 jumbo boxes. We've only opened 1. We got an autograph, an 88 throwback auto of, what was the guy's name? Mike Micabono or something like that? Yeah. What was his name? It's funny. The guy, he plays for the Cubs now, but the auto we got was for the Rays. I think he played on the Rays last year. The rookie auto on card, at least, so that was nice. The manufactured relics are kind of silly. To get a, one of your hits be a Justin Verlander 2011, manufactured pitcher relic, like Triple Crown kind of stat on it that specifically says right there, this relic was created just for 2023 Topps, and that to be your only hit in a regular hobby box is kind of sad. But it is what it is. That's, for $85 hobby box, you can't really expect more than that. We got a Jordan Walker. We got a Volpe base. I feel like I'm too blind to look for short prints. That's got a little, it's gotten a little annoying. I guess I'll grab a magnifying glass later and look at the back of the card and see if we hit any kind of short print. It's almost like work. But yeah, it's fun. I always like to open a box. We open flagship and we open, Series 2. But what's funny is after we open those, I said to my son, what do you want to open? You want to buy some more of this stuff? You want to go back to the store? Want to buy Pokemon? $125, booster box with 36 packs in it. I don't know what the heck we were looking for. Dogs and dinosaurs and you name it. And he pulls a card. He's like, this is a chase card. This is really good. And I don't know what the hell it is. I don't know whether he's, kind of an example of what's going on with the youth now. And people are going to be, instead of buying Topps, they're going to be buying Pokemon. Maybe. I know it's shiny. So that's the fun stuff there. 2 more little fun ones. 1 minute before we get into, the end. I guess it's a couple hours old now. The Iron Shiek, man. Rest in peace, man. I got to tell you, as a kid growing up in the 80s, that dude made it real. He made it real as a wrestling fan. I think part of the reason that Hulk Hogan was so beloved by, 10-year-olds like me, that he was, the real American, was how real his enemies were in wrestling. And think about that, right? He had Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov. He was from Russia, even though he really wasn't. I actually saw Nikolai Volkov in SeaWorld once in Florida when I was a kid. It's pretty funny. He was shorter than my dad, even though he's supposed to be like 6'10". No, he wasn't as big as they make him out to be on TV. But the Iron Sheik, what a personality, what a great wrestler. Was a champ before the Hogan rivalry. I think he beat Bob Backlund and MSG. I definitely saw him wrestle at Madison Square Garden. Got to see a lot of wrestling at Madison Square Garden as a young kid with my dad. Just a cool personality, and was still there. On Twitter, active. Really played up the jabroni type of stuff. You know, and if you have 2 minutes free time, and you're on YouTube watching this, when I'm finished here in 5 minutes, go into your search function and type Iron Sheik, Jerry Springer. I mean, the dude was everywhere, even on Jerry Springer. I mean, he showed up in one of these episodes where a girl says, I'm leaving you, my boyfriend, because I got another man, and out from backstage pops the Iron Sheik as the other man. I mean, just fun stuff. An entertainer through and through from the beginning to the end. And wanted to take a minute there, even though we don't really cover wrestling too much. To acknowledge somebody who, I mean, I remember watching as a kid and rooting against. So for me, it was real. For me, Hulk Hogan was in there fighting a war against the bad guy every time, and he couldn't lose to the Iron Sheik. It would ruin my day, my week, and my month. As a kid, it was real. I don't care what anybody says. As a kid, you were on Team Hogan, and she couldn't win. Obviously, I was just a dumb kid, but the guy had to be doing something right to make it that real. So rest in peace, that guy. And then the big news, Messi. I mean, when I first got into cards, soccer didn't even exist. And then, as we started collecting with my son again this time around before COVID, I started talking to people about soccer cards. And one of the things about it was, can you kind of like buy on these transfers, buy on the movement? One of the things that I learned very quick, learned a couple things quick. Number one, no one likes Panini Instant. I got this awesome Mbappe card before anybody cared who he was. They only printed 90 of them. There's one PSA 10 and I own it and nobody cares. That's number one. Number two, it better be the right card, right? So, the guy could have a bunch of cards. Some of them are going to be expensive, some are not. Number three, and here's the biggie. Soccer news is usually fake until it's not. I mean, my son showed me an article yesterday about Messi being very close to signing with a team just like Ronaldo did. And it was like $1.2 billion or $1.3 billion offer, and he's close in the whole deal. And then I saw rumors this morning of Miami. And you're like, it's just rumors. We've heard about this stuff all the time. And now it looks like it's actually happening. And I think it's brilliant. It's a brilliant move by everybody involved, right? I know that there's huge money being thrown at the MLS for television rights for Apple TV. I think it's smart for Messi. Everybody's dream is to be part of the ownership of it. I think he's getting potentially rights to a piece of the team, potentially rights to a piece of additional Apple subscribers who subscribe to watch the MLS now, who weren't subscribed before his deal. The MLS package, I think it's a piece of that, which is amazing. I mean, that's like, what has made Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor their kind of money. It's now you are getting a piece of the action. Those are guys who get a piece of the pay-per-view, right? Same now for Messi, right? If you're going to be the show and you're going to bring eyeballs, you might as well get a piece of the money coming in from those eyeballs, right? And I think that's part of what makes this an attractive thing for him. People are going to say he left this money on the table. Don't underestimate the value of, TV rights and what he's going to wind up getting in this contract. Just ask some of those ABA teams that didn't merge into the NBA, but got value for the ongoing television and airing rights in perpetuity of the NBA. It's just one of those crazy things, right? That's just going to have value for a long, long time. And I don't believe I've watched an MLS game. So from a standpoint here, and my son is starting to watch soccer. I will say, nobody cared about soccer cards. I've said it a bunch of times. Clearly, I'm wrong. You obviously know what that means. It's not no one cares about soccer cards. It's just that soccer cards are not collected in the same volume that other cards are. I saw a stat recently about, the biggest sports, I'm pretty sure, biggest sports and segments. I think Pokemon was ahead of hockey, right? And then came, soccer thereafter. So I will say it seems to have a very passionate collector base. There are MLS cards, 100%. There are MLS cards, and those were often just cards that were overlooked. I would go into my LCS and say, son's starting into soccer. You got any soccer cards? He, oh yeah, I got these. These are $25 a box. I'm like, what? Oh, MLS. And I would say to Ian, I said, you want? Oh, no. There's no one in MLS. I don't want MLS. It's obviously going to change. So whether you want to, what do you want to give him another little pat on the back or not? It's valuable for Topps, right? I mean, Topps is going to be making the MLS soccer cards. People are still going to be buying the other soccer cards that have Haaland and Mbappe and everybody in them. But now the MLS property, people are going to be looking for Messi's first MLS card. I mean, it's just a fun little, thing to add into the equation. So yeah, you have that. You have all that fun stuff. Let's hope that when the whatever they wind up making for MLS, let's maybe make a high end, maybe make a National Treasures MLS. If it's on Panini's dime, or if it's still with Topps when he finally starts to play, maybe they make like a Dynasty or some high end product with Messi's first one-of-one patch auto from MLS, game worn on card auto, some sick top thing. And let's hope that, that's actually out there for a collector and not saved for when Michael Rubin does a break with some other celebrity. And there's another episode for you guys. We try to keep it as real as we can here. Please, again, love every one of you. I do look at the numbers. I'm doing really great numbers here. And I love the comments that you guys are enjoying the show. I love what you write in there. Any questions, you name it. Please keep the comments coming. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. I would greatly appreciate that. Follow me, Cage Lawyer, and The Hobby with Cage on Instagram as well. And let me know what you think, guys. Post it in your story. If you think I suck, put that up there too. We could talk about why I suck. But if you enjoyed this 27 minutes of fun little content, you want me to keep doing it, I'd love to hear that as well. We'll see you on Friday for some Coffee with Cage question and answers. Talk to you soon, everybody.